It's a great time to bust through another growth barrier for your business. This one's called growth by the seat of your pants. Now, I know it sounds like a weight gain diet or something, maybe a way to bulk up, but it's really a growth barrier that results when you don't have a great way to plan and strategize for your way forward. We get asked this question by a lot of business leaders. Do I really need a growth or marketing plan? But the truth is, it actually creates a growth barrier when you don't have one. So if your business feels like you're flying by the seat of your pants, then you're in good company, because half of all businesses don't have a marketing plan or a growth plan. And if you're not familiar with this term, flying by the seat of your pants, which is where our title comes from, it talks about the days of early navigation and aviation, because these barnstormers would fly without any navigational aids other than what they could see. They'd follow the roads, they'd follow the rivers, and they would travel around the country in the 1920s, and they would do stunts, and they had to just pilot just by familiarity and what they were looking at. So 50% of businesses don't have a marketing plan. You have to ask the question, why is that? So here's some of the reasons. The business plan that you had to start with, it probably had a marketing plan in it. It didn't actually work, right? Because we know that business plans have to be modified on a regular basis. And probably the only part of your business plan that you've been updating is kind of the cash flows. So the original business plan that had marketing in it didn't really work. And the real truth is that strategic planning isn't working the way it used to. We used to do 3 and 5 year plans and walk them out. And that's not how we do things anymore. It's way, way too slow. Now, there's lots of people that are happy to help you implement their good idea, their one-off software, their ad strategy. They're happy to sell you that strategy. And for many people, the strategies that other people give them by way of a software or ad budget is the only strategy that they have. Now, for some people, having a business marketing plan or a growth plan may just not be your thing. You might not be a planner. That's why you don't have one. Sometimes, though, we try and substitute a whole bunch of gig workers or competing vendors, and that's our marketing plan. Or for others, we just treat software itself as our plan. Our plan is to have these softwares. We have an email software. We have a website software. We have an SMS text messaging software. Another reason why people don't have marketing plans is that things have just changed so much. It's been super hard to keep up. So here's why the lack of a growth plan is actually a barrier to growth. Number one, it leaves you and your team to kind of operate at the whim of the next shiny object. Now, I'm the first one to admit that I like shiny objects. I like new software. I like new toys. And so whenever a new one comes out, I'm really excited about it. But that's really a problem for guiding business growth, because we're attracted to that and it can take us way off course. Secondly, the lack of a growth plan is a barrier because you are losing efficiency, because all your different tactics are completely disconnected. And so you have to do a lot of movement of data, re-entry, and you don't have good granular tracking as a result. So it's very, very inefficient. Another reason that not having a growth plan is a big problem is there's nothing for you to collaborate around. Imagine putting a football team on a field and not having any plays to run. That's really what's going on when you don't have a growth plan. It's also very expensive to run this way, because essentially all marketing is an experiment, and you're running without a planned experiment. Therefore, everything you're doing is more expensive. You're repeating things you don't have to repeat. And some of the errors keep cropping up because there's not a disciplined pathway for you to move forward with. Now, here's the deal. Scalability and the ability to grow predictably is reliant upon, absolutely relies upon efficient marketing. And you've got to get to efficient marketing if you want to have sustainable and scalable growth. The lack of a growth plan also impacts your ability to sustainably win new clients, because that's the driver for growth. So the truth is, there's nothing wrong with a good experiment. You should be putting your entrepreneurial bent to work and always experimenting. But you always need to have the discipline of data with your experiments. So instead of just kind of doing this ad hoc or by the seat of your pants, it's a much better strategy to actually run with an experimental design. You start with a great hypothesis, your best guess of what to do. You run the test. and then you keep doing what works and innovate on the things that don't. And the idea here is with experimental design is fail as fast as possible so you can adjust. If you repeat this cycle over and over again, you'll end up with something that's really, really amazing. That's what happens when you have an experimental process rather than just seat of the pants marketing. Now, experimental designs are not created without understanding what others have already done. No one wants to repeat the same old experiment. So if you take what others have learned, what is proven to work, then you can see how it applies in your setting. Now, the way someone else applied marketing or growth will not work exactly the same way in your setting, with your team, with your location, with your customers, with your products and services. So you're going to have to build from what someone else has already done, and you're going to have to innovate and you're going to have to iterate so it works better and better. And so, in growth and marketing, everybody's got a formula, some kind of magic secret to get things done. But the reality is those are all just potential experiments for you that you can put to work in your unique situation. So instead of running by the seat of your pants, you should be using an experimental design. Now we have a name for this. It's called growth-driven design. This is the process of using experimental processes to apply the best possible approach and then to improve it. And that's how you reach mastery. This is how successful companies are winning online. So I want to encourage you and even call you to move from just doing seat of the pants marketing and seat of the pants growth to actually intentionally experimenting and creating progress for yourself that you can document and build upon. That's how you get to something really amazing.